The mirage of self-worth, why we mistake what we do for who we are. What if you woke up one morning and the world outside your window was unchanged, but inside, something felt fundamentally different? Maybe it's not as dramatic as turning into an insect, but you sense a disconnection between who you feel you are and who you feel you must be. Most of us have felt this at some point. A thick, invisible wall between our truest selves and the roles we play for others. But why is it so easy to lose sight of our own value in the swirl of daily life? Let's pause for a moment. Right now, ask yourself, if you were unable to work, to meet expectations, to be useful in the ways you're used to, would you still feel worthy? It's a tough question, one that sits at the heart of a silent epidemic in our world. We've been taught, subtly, and sometimes with blunt force, that our worth is measured by our output. Promotions, paychecks, grades, even the glittering likes on a social post, they all promise a mirror for our value. But the reflection is always incomplete. It's no accident. Since the Industrial Revolution, a person's identity has become increasingly tangled with productivity. The more you can do, the more you are seen. The workplace is a stage for this performance, but its echoes reach much farther. Family gatherings, social circles, even inner dialogues are colored by the question, what have you accomplished? Research in psychology reveals that self-worth based solely on achievement creates a fragile sense of identity, leading to anxiety and burnout, as explored by experts like Dr. Kristen Neff on self-compassion and Dr. Brené Brown on shame and vulnerability. So, what happens when the show stops? When, like Gregor Samsa, we find ourselves unable to play our usual parts. The silence can be terrifying. Old definitions crumble. The people around us, sometimes even those who love us, may not know how to relate to us beyond what we provide. The pain of being seen as a burden, invisible or replaceable, isn't just a story in a book. It's a reality for many who are sick, unemployed, retired, or simply struggling to keep up. But here's the paradox. The harder you work to prove your value through action alone, the further you can feel from your own sense of being joy, presence, and peace. Most of us try to fill this gap with more work, more pleasing, more striving. Yet, like trying to quench thirst with salt water, it only leaves us drier inside. If you've ever found yourself wondering, who am I without my job? Without my achievements? Without my usefulness to others? Take a gentle breath. You are not alone in that wilderness. In fact, you're standing at the edge of a possibility, the chance to discover you are more than what you do. It's a slow, revolutionary act to start seeing yourself not as a tool, but as a whole person, inherently worthy of love and respect, just for existing. So what's one small step you can take today? Find a quiet moment. Grab a piece of paper and, without judging yourself, write down the qualities that make you, your humor, your curiosity, your kindness, your dreams, not your credentials, not your checklist of duties. Just you as you are. Revisit this list over the next few days. Let it grow. When self-doubt hisses that you are only as good as your last success, answer it with something real from your list. As you move through your day, remember, worth is not a mountain to climb, but a garden to tend. You may have been praised for your fruits, but it's the roots, the self no one sees, that sustain your life. This is not easy work, but it is the most important work you will do. No matter what happens on the outside, your value remains unshaken. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what makes me worthy beyond all I do for others? Let that question be your gentle companion as you rediscover the rich, unmeasurable heart of your own humanity. The pressure to disappear, why pleasing others leaves us empty. Let's try something honest. Think back to the last time you said yes, when you truly wanted to say no. Maybe you took on extra work, Or you stayed silent about something important just to avoid shaking the peace. We've all been there. In fact, many of us have spent years mistaking agreement and helpfulness for love and belonging. At first, it feels generous, even noble. But over time, a heavy weariness settles in a sense that your real needs have been lost in the shuffle. Why do we do this? Why is it so hard to stop pleasing others, even when it hurts us in ways we rarely admit out loud? If we dig to the root, the answer is as old as childhood. Many of us learned early that approval buys us safety, and that harmony, real or fake, keeps us connected. This training seeps quietly into adulthood until suddenly our lives are filled with errands, obligations, and people who don't really see or value our boundaries. Yet, every attempt to win affection or peace by self-erasing brings a silent tax. Sociologists have observed how cultures that prize conformity and group harmony tend to produce higher levels of inner conflict and lowered self-esteem, particularly among those who chronically ignore their own wishes. The rewards of pleasing are almost always conditional once your usefulness runs out. So too does the warmth. That's the haunting lesson of stories like Gregor Samsa's, when you define yourself entirely by how much you can give. The moment life asks you to receive, to be seen in weakness, to rely on care, you may find that the support you offered so freely isn't returned. The emptiness that follows isn't simply loneliness, it's a crisis of identity. Who are you, really, if your worth has always depended on meeting other people's needs? But this is not just a story of loss. There is profound courage in confronting the urge to disappear for the sake of peace. It takes real strength to admit that. Sometimes, the love you chase by pleasing is love that will vanish the instant you can no longer play your part. So what now? How do you step out of the shadow and become fully present, not just to others, but to yourself? The first act is deceptively small: kindness with boundaries. Kindness means giving without resentment, but also knowing when to stop. Pleasing, by contrast, is rooted in fear of rejection, of conflict, of being truly seen. The next time you feel that urge rising to quick fix a situation, to swallow your opinion, to neglect your needs, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, am I doing this from love or from fear? For today, practice one clear no. This doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it means declining an invitation that drains you, or asking for help instead of pushing through alone. Each time you set a healthy limit, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You tell your inner world, your most private self, that you are finally choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over applause. The paradox is simple and true. The more you betray your real self to please others, the lonelier and more invisible you will become. But the more you honor your boundaries, the stronger your sense of self will grow, and the deeper your connections become, because they are built not on masks, but on truth. Tonight, look back on one moment today when you almost abandoned yourself just to hold the peace or please someone. What might have changed if you'd spoken from your own truth instead? Reflect on this. What would your life look like if you gave just as much care to your needs as you do to others? Let that question guide you as you step into your own light. One honest no at a time. The hidden sanctuary protecting your inner world in a demanding age. Pause for a moment. With all the noise, demands, and endless scrolling, when was the last time you truly listened to yourself quietly, without expectation or judgment? Most of us rarely do. Our days slip by in a blur of conversations, notifications, opinions, obligations. It's as if the world continuously reaches for our attention. Gently, and sometimes not so gently, tugging us away from the one place that is entirely ours, our own mind and spirit. But what happens when we neglect this hidden sanctuary for too long? Let's be honest, life rarely gives us the luxury of silence. We're taught to keep up, respond quickly, prove our worth, and stay endlessly connected. Yet beneath this constant activity lies a vital truth: your private world, the place where your deepest thoughts, values, and wildest hopes live, is your one true home. When you ignore it or fill it with outside noise, a part of you begins to fade. You might feel adrift, restless, or strangely empty, even when surrounded by people and achievements. Think of your inner world as a garden. If you never tend it, never pull the weeds, water the roots, or let sunlight in, it becomes overgrown and wild. Or worse, barren. But unlike an actual garden, this inner space is always with you, quietly waiting for your return, regardless of how long you've been gone. Psychology confirms what ancient wisdom has long taught: time spent in reflection, creativity, and solitude is essential, not a luxury, for mental and emotional well-being. Research on mindfulness shows that even a few moments of deliberate presence can reduce anxiety, soothe rumination, and help restore a sense of peace and direction. But real life often feels like an obstacle course. How do you carve out moments of sanctuary in a world that rarely slows down? The answer is both simple and radical. Treat your inner self as sacred property. This means being selective about what you let in: news, social media, voices, even well-meaning advice. Not every headline deserves your peace. Not every online debate is worthy of your energy. Your attention is precious. Spend it wisely. Try creating tiny rituals that bring you home to yourself. These don't have to be grand or time-consuming. Maybe you find a few minutes each morning before screens take over, just sipping tea or sitting with your thought. Or you walk in nature with no agenda, noticing the rhythm of your breath and the world around you. You might write a page in a journal, paint, hum a song, or simply lie on your back, staring at the ceiling and letting your mind wander. The point is not to be productive, but to listen. Over time, these small acts create a sense of spaciousness inside a place to retreat when the outer world grows loud. Another key practice: notice what drains you. Are there people, apps, or habits that leave you feeling tense or hollow? Give yourself permission to set limits, to mute, or to walk away for a while. Protect your essence as fiercely as you would shelter a loved one. It's not selfishness, it's stewardship of the one resource you truly own: your own spirit. There's another layer to this too. As you grow more rooted inside, you may find that the outside world doesn't always understand, or may even resist your boundaries. People expect quick replies and endless availability. But each time you pause to care for your inner life, you subtly change your relationship with the world. You move from reacting to responding. You create from a place of fullness instead of emptiness. As Viktor Frankl once wrote, "In the space between stimulus and response lies your freedom and power." The more you return to your inner sanctuary, the clearer your sense of self becomes. Decisions feel less confusing. The highs and lows of praise or criticism no longer rule your heart. You may even notice a surprising shift, a deeper kindness toward yourself, a patience you never imagined. As this video comes to a close, remember, the world will always ask for more of you. But you can only meet it with as much strength and joy as you're willing to nurture within. You are more than your output, your sacrifices, or the ever-changing expectations placed upon you. You are a living, breathing, feeling being with roots that run deeper than anyone else can see. Tonight, find a sliver of quiet, just 5 minutes will do, and ask yourself, what space exists inside me that no one but I can touch? How might I care for it, even in the smallest way, every single day? Your answer is both your compass and your sanctuary. And as you build this hidden refuge, you discover that the world cannot take from you what you carry quietly within. So begin today. Tend your inner garden. Return to your sanctuary. You are home.